Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever Shorty, and today we're going to have a look at one which is actually on my pull list. Last Warden. I saw this cover and thought, yeah, that kind of speaks to me, that looks interesting, I like the colour layout, I like everything about it. What I didn't do was read anything about it, because I've said before, I don't really like the idea of going into a comic book knowing what to expect. I'd like to have it shown to me through the comic book. And in this case, it does a really good job of that. Like, very early on I realised it was what I wanted because of how it presented some things and how it paced the story. We start with a fantastic establishing shot. Straight away we get the sense of, like, depth of colour, really nice line work, and really good framing. The next page over, we are shown this really creepy sequence, which foresees absolute horror and terror, but maybe there's a solution to it. And then we go straight back to mid-70s America, and it all's very normal. And when I say normal, I don't mean that to be like, you know, a take on like just boring stuff without anything exciting happening. It's the mundanity of existence in a time period where it's just not great. We see how hard it is to live people's lives, the weight of expectations, the trauma of past events and current events, how relationships interact, and how it just is hard to be sometimes. And none of this takes away from like how good writing it is or the pacing of it. It slows it down on purpose, and it carries on this way for a good few pages, introducing multiple characters and their backstories to a certain degree. You don't get too much into one. There's like a lot left unspoken, which I really quite like. And then we have a clashing moment of something going wrong. And here I'm like, okay, so we had this threat early, which I'd kind of forgotten about, and I thought, is this to do with it? Maybe, maybe not. Because on the peripheries of the experience, you realise there's something sinister happening. It's not obvious in any stretch of the imagination, like it's not even commented on by any of the characters in the world, because it isn't done in any way which is big or grand, but it's unexpected and it's creepy. And it keeps you in mind of that, like, yeah, there was that thing at the beginning, like an entire page of them talking about the fact that something bad might be coming. But it kind of goes low-key again then. Like, if you're talking pacing and how we build up tension, the story takes its foot off the brake really effectively and goes back down to just mundanity again. But it accelerates the horror of the mundanity. We have this character who'd appeared earlier who was definitely a lowlife, certainly not somebody you'd want to spend time with or introduce to your parents, and then you realise just how terrible a person they are. And it's not hidden, there's no idea of deception. They are full on an absolute terrible human being, and then a cataclysmic, like if we thought the earlier incident where it suddenly heightened the tension was a big thing, we don't get nothing compared to what happens. It absolutely took me by surprise. I thought I had a little bit of a handle on what they were doing based on the story aspects I'd seen and my understanding of the genre and horror, but I was not prepared for what happened, and it is beautiful and disturbing. It's like the artwork that these creators were designed to be doing. I absolutely love every single element of it, with only one exception. The only real criticism I've got of it is a tiny little thing is there's occasional moments where there's so much going on a page and dialogue happening, spanning multiple panels, and the flow isn't quite right. It takes your eye away from like the action a couple of occasions. Not to the point that it's like to a detriment of the story, but it could have been a little bit tighter. And it left me, when we get to the final conclusion and we have a better understanding of what's going on, it did leave me with questions, because there's an awful lot not answered in this. The two bigger ones being, who are these last Wardens? Where do they come from? They have superpowers of some description. They seem to be there to, like, fight evil, but we don't know why they're doing it, if anyone sent them to do it, if they have other motivations. And also, how are they so bad at it? I absolutely loved how terrible they are. And this isn't, like, to criticise the creating or anything like that. Like, the writing and the art isn't doing anything to make out that they should be great, but they're not, and they're being let down by storytelling or a visual representation. Very accurately portrayed to be just terrible at their job in ways which are weirdly funny. And I don't think it should, like, when I say funny, I don't want this to be like, oh, ha 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 kind of moments. There's no real jokes in there. But in the same way that the second Evil Dead movie knew when to add absurdist kind of humour to it, there's a real sense of that going on in there. And it looks fantastic throughout. It is worth pointing out how good the art is. Rui Silveira, I think, is the artist on this one, with somebody else doing the colours. And, yeah, everything about the artwork is brilliant. Character design's fantastic. The details in the world, beautiful. The big establishing shot was fantastic. The costume, the way the clothes hang off people, the way hair covers bits of the face and is affected by the environment. So many little details which all come together, and then is just blown away by how fantastic the horror and the gore moments are. I genuinely have been more impressed by this than I thought I was going to be, and it was on my pull list, so I was expecting some good things. Genuinely worth checking out. I've just checked and I don't think it's available to order through like regular means from suppliers anymore. So if your comic book store has one, I would say give this one a shot. Give it a try. Mad Cave Studios are doing some really good stuff at the moment and they're worth paying attention to. That's it for me for now. I've got a bunch more to review this week, so I'll get through them in no time, I'm sure. Make sure you do the social media things so you don't miss anything that I'm doing. I would say check us out on Threads more than anything else. We post on there quite a lot, or Facebook. Also Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. You've seen this somewhere, I'm sure. Until I see you again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!